Stay frosty and check out redzonecoins.com for the cheapest, fastest coins on the market. Use code DIRECTOR at checkout for 10% off. Yo, what up, brothers? What's up? It's the Director. You guys see that new stinger? That new animation? Kind of neat, huh? Madden Ultimate Team fans, we got an interesting one for you guys today. EA came on to their Twitch stream today and went over a lot of stuff, a lot of information. Hopefully we can cover it all in this video. They're making a lot of changes based on the feedback they got during the closed beta. Honestly, there's a lot of good nuggets of information in here, hopefully to help us better prepare ourselves for Madden 21 coming up in mid-August. And I would say some cool secrets in here too. A lot of people are always wondering, how much, does a guy have to weigh, or how tall does a guy have to be in order to hit certain thresholds and stuff, and I see a lot of that in Madden 21. So guys, before we get started with this video, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Madden content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps out a lot. Let's get into this video. All right, dudes. Closed beta feedback. So I took some notes on this, just kind of, put in a simpler terms what they were talking about with different bullet points and stuff. So think of this as a video game PowerPoint presentation or something. We're here to learn. The more you know, the more you know. Let's get into the first slide here. Additional gameplay features. Okay, so they were talking about the celebration mechanic. The left trigger used to celebrate. It looks like that's staying, I guess. They didn't really say they were changing it. So I'm thinking the left trigger is going to continue being the button you need to use to celebrate. Some people really don't like this just because a lot of us are used to using it to for directional, ball carrier moves. And if you do that now, you're going to fumble because you're going to be out there celebrating. So some guys really don't like that. Other guys don't really care, but it'll take a little bit of adjustment from a lot of people. Additional gameplay features, no precision modifier. Okay, so that's the biggest reason why they moved the celebration to the left trigger. It's because there's no precision modifier anymore. It's all based off of attributes. It's all based off of a player's rating in certain, aspects, maybe agility, spin move, juke move. The higher you are, the better you are. And also, they're also putting into a perspective a lot of different archetypes. Different styles of player have a lot to do with how successful you'll be with different ball carrier moves and stuff like that. So, pre-play, defensive adjustments, stuff like that. I know I have some notes down here. Okay, so 70 plus rating enables steerable moves. So I gotta put up my notes before I move on to the next one. So no precision modifier. So if you have 70 plus rating, let's say in agility, let's say in spin move, let's say in juke move, that's going to start giving you more steerable moves with your ball carrier moves, okay? And obviously the higher you go, the better you're going to be with those moves, okay? DB lock on. So what it's looking at here is less oversteering, in layman's terms, less oversteering is what you're going to see. It feels like they've addressed it a little bit. There's a lot of tuning and stuff that they said that they did through this whole process, so we'll have to wait and see. But from what they said, it's going to be feel like it's less oversteered. Next up, ball carrier archetype run styles. Now, this is what I was talking about. The success rate of executing a juke or a jurtle or a hurdle or a spin or whatever. It's based on these different archetypes of players. So you got ball carrier archetype run styles. All right, so you got your agile small, agile tall, bruiser quick, and bruiser heavy. And they have different examples of players that fit these archetypes with all these different guys here. So one big thing I did put up here is height and weight do matter. All right, and then I'm going to tell you guys that height and weight, and then you can figure out for yourself, which players kind of fit into these archetypes. So for agile, you got faster turn and ball carrier moves, and to accomplish that, you need 80 plus agility, and you need to be less than 225 pounds. That's what dictates what an agile ball carrier is. Okay, so your smaller guys, very scrappy, very quick. Next up is agile small, and this has to do again with the same things we saw above for the agile archetype, but it also has to do with their height. So 5'10" and less, you're going to get shorter and quicker strides. I think they used Tyreek Hill as an example for the agile small, so kind of interesting. Agile tall, they used this one, Julio Jones, I think, as an example. I forgot to put notes in on that guy, but basically the height advantage is going to give you, a certain specific advantage as well. So I'm guessing something like catching and stuff like that. I apologize if I find that. I'll put it in the comment section below. Bruiser. So basically the same thing as agile, but on the opposite end. So you're going to have slower turn, spin moves, but you're going to have more power behind you, okay? So you guys is like, Derrick Henry. They have that below 90 agility, below 225 pounds, or I should say, sorry, more, below than... 80 agility, more than 225 pounds, are going to be those big, power backs, and you're going to have more power behind what you're doing, those truck animations, stiff arms, and stuff like that. They also have Bruiser Quick. This is basically the same thing, but if you have 90 plus speed, you're going to have quicker animation, quicker feet, and stuff like that. So very interesting. And then your Bruiser Heavies, those are just your huge. I think you did say your offensive linemen do fit into this as well. 290 pounds plus, they're going to be very powerful, but, very sluggish, not very good, agile, agility-wise. Next up, we got to move this along pretty quick, guys, because there's so much to cover here. Next, we got the most upvoted feedback. Now, this is coming from the beta. A lot of guys went in there, played the beta, myself included, and we went back in and we gave feedback on what we would like to see improved in Madden 21 for the gameplay. All right, so going back into this, here are some of the guys that are some of the comments that were upvoted the most that they tried to address, and they wanted to give us an update on what they're doing with those. One thing they did mention, Madden Voice, which is a new thing they're trying to implement. Like I just said, a lot of us from our experience in the game, we went and left feedback for things that we thought need to be fixed. It sounds like they're trying to implement that into the regular season, and it's going to be called this thing Madden Voice. Okay, so there'll be a place where you can go and put your feedback, trying to help the game improve. I know there's going to be a lot of guys that are upset that they lost, even if it was completely warranted, and they're going to go, vent on those forums. At the same time, hopefully those forums can provide a platform for them to help them create a better experience throughout the regular season, not just during the beta. All right, so getting to these upvoted comments here. User on defense feels sluggish. This is a big one, dudes. This is something I noticed. I upticked it. I've upvoted it. I was like, yeah, the user right now is really, really slow. And shockingly enough, they said they're going to keep it. They said they're going to keep it. It's not going to change. They don't want one player on defense to take away, 3 or 4 routes because they're really fast. You can move into different zones and stuff like that. They put an emphasis on it. So as of right now, whatever we had in the beta, I mean, obviously it's probably been tuned and stuff since then. It's going to stay that way. You're not going to be able to use a single player to take away multiple routes. It's going to be a little bit slower than it has been in years past. And they said there's a reason behind that. And there's a broader spectrum view about that, a bigger picture that we're not seeing yet. Maybe it has to do in conjunction with they want us to start using the D-line a little bit more. So maybe they're going to have us do a little bit of D-line using, a little bit of, linebacker using, a little bit of safety using, and hopefully, that'll help us tune, what we're seeing on defense, what we're seeing from that offense. Maybe we can, user a specific guy based on what our opponent is running. I don't know, but kind of interesting. I feel like usering has been a big thing for a long time, and for them to keep it that way, I don't know how a lot of people are going to like that, but I think it's kind of, from what I can hear, kind of 50-50. Some guys like it, some guys don't. Next up is they changed the hurdle / truck. Okay, so you guys remember that they put the hurdle on the right stick, because they wanted to have all of the elusive moves on one area and the one right stick. And a lot of people who were trying to truck ended up, jumping over a guy, or trying to jump over a guy at least. And a lot of people seem to have a big problem with that. So this is actually one thing that they did change. They changed it back to the Madden 20 format. So the truck on the stick is still there, and the hurdle is going to be on Y or triangle. And the truck can only be chained with spins. So the reason I put that there is because the reason they wanted to move stuff to the right stick was so you could start chaining things together, kind of like Mortal Kombat. You want to go from your spin to your juke to your hurdle. You can do that all in one platform, and it kind of chains together with a successful, multi moves of ball carrier skill, right? And in order to put the truck back on the stick, they had to kind of take some stuff away from those chaining. So the trucks can only be chained with spins now. You can't, chain it with a jurtle or a juke or anything like that. It's going to be only the spins. And from what I can remember, they did say that the hurdle can still be chained with something else. I'm sorry, I didn't put that in my notes here, but I'll go take a look at that next time. Players aren't reacting to the ball when throwing an offense on defense, and this is something I noticed quite a bit too in the beta. What he said is that it's been much improved since the beta. They said they had to roll out an older version of the game because they're on some kind of schedule, and they said that it's been tuned, it should be more improved. But honestly, this is something I've seen for a while. Hopefully we see more reaction to the ball in the air from in zone coverage. So I think they go over that here in just a second. We got to move it along, guys. Next up, zone coverage doesn't feel effective. Here's what he said. Wasn't tuned. improvements have been made. So it wasn't tuned, you know, in the beta. Improvements have been made since then. So hopefully, you know, zone coverage doesn't feel as ineffective as it did in the beta. Next up, here's the zone coverage improvements that they made. There's a lot of them. Okay, improve react times relative to break on the ball. You guys can read this. You have eyeballs. You know, the two big ones that they talked about, the one on the top here, he says, if players can see the throw, they will more likely break on the ball. Ratings improve the effectiveness of this. So, you know, those guys that get those, like, 360, interceptions, or, 180, swats and stuff like that, that's still not going to be as likely. But if maybe you switch on the guy and you strafe, so you can look at the, the quarterback throwing the ball, you'll have a better break on the ball as it's in the air when you're in zone coverage. That's just kind of what I'm getting from that. I don't know. And at the bottom down here, Cover 3, Cover 2, coverage updates. This is something they said they're going to be improving during the game's life cycle as well. So a title update soon after launch will further fix Cover 3 and Cover 2. And this is all from the mouths of EA, all right? We got to move it along. Most upvoted feedback, again, zone coverage doesn't feel effective. Player switching doesn't feel intuitive. Okay, so the player switching, that's something that, a lot of us did notice in the beta. What they decided to do was go back to the logic in Madden 20 because it's something that we're familiar with. They said it was too big of a problem to try and, solve all at once. They're going to revert back to Madden 20 logic. That should keep it familiar for a lot of guys who played this last year. And then film study. This is the big one, dudes. Film study, I think it's after 4 consecutive plays, from the same formation on offense. If they run it over and over and over again, eventually you're going to be able to see, what they're doing on offense. And that's pretty crazy because a lot of guys rely on, 1, 2, 3, 4 formations in order to, run their offense. And so some guys really didn't like that. Other guys, I'll be honest, like me, I kind of like that because one big problem I have with Madden is playing the same game over and over and over again. And if there's somebody on defense that can expose, that, game mechanic that's maybe broken, that's kind of cool to me because all of a sudden it forces your opponent to get off of, stretch, get off of, trips or whatever they're using over and over and over because I can see it and I'll be able to react to it, cause a turnover. So me personally, I liked it, but they did say it is going to be removed at launch. However, removed at launch, it will return in a later update. So film study isn't gone completely, but it's not going to be there at launch. It's going to come at a later date when they've had time to tune it a little bit more. So I think that's great. Maybe they can make it a little more balanced, kind of help those guys out that do want to run multiple, their offense off of, a couple of different formations, stuff like that. So I don't know, man. We got to move on. Next up, most upvoted feedback, fatigue abilities for scrambling quarterbacks are too severe. And this is something they talked about when you have an out of position player, you're going to get more fatigue when running the ball and stuff like that. So what they said is out of position stamina penalty has been tuned down when not getting hit. But when you do get hit, the fatigue penalty increases. So basically, don't get hit. You should be able to run with the quarterback a little bit more effectively. Next up, we got AI pass rush doesn't seem as effective as user pass rush. This is something I think they wanted to implement so they can get, us off of our users and on the defensive line, which is kind of neat, but at the same time, I don't know, dudes. What they did say, though, is they gave a slight boost to the AI pass rush. They didn't say it was anything crazy. I think he said it was something like 2.5 or 5% or something like that. So don't expect anything too crazy, but it has been boosted, all right? Next up, pass the max throw power passing feedback penalty. So this was something that people were confused on. Basically, the text confused people. What they should have said, and I did write it down here on my notes, was that the receiver is out of range. So they updated that text. So if you're trying to pass to like Tyreek Hill, down on the 5-yard line, and you're, even as Patrick Mahomes, on your own 5-yard line, you're not going to be able to make that throw. So they updated the text to say that, and the penalties have been tuned, to help you better your accuracy in those situations, okay? Next up, top bugs reported. You guys have eyeballs. This is stuff that we all saw during, the beta and stuff like that. They say all of this will be fixed by launch. They said in a lot of cases it's already been fixed. We just had an older version of the game. New Superstar X Factor abilities. All right, so we've seen this. There's these new graphics that have been coming out showing the new X Factors and stuff. They do say that the Superstar Abilities notes are coming on Friday. So we're going to get our first look at what the actual Superstar Abilities are going to be. And this tends to be the things that people care about the most because you don't need to do a ridiculous amount of things in order to activate them. So that's pretty crazy. And the last couple of things that they did mention here, there is a much stream coming, but it's going to be in mid-August. Crap. It feels like that's so far away, dudes. I don't know, man. Mudstream coming in August. Finally get some information on Madden Ultimate Team. I don't know why it takes so long, man. I feel like, you know, we got feedback, you know, we got things that we like. I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. Fix Madden card art was actually mentioned on this stream, so maybe there's some kind of, you know, I don't know, headway going into that. Maybe there's some leverage. Maybe, you know, Jake Stein at least knows about it, so that's pretty cool. And then finally, Fix Madden franchise. They're going to give us an update on that in mid-August. All right, guys. So, bit of a longer video today, guys, but there's a lot of information to go over. What are some of the things that stood out to you guys? Do you think enough has been done since the beta to help improve Madden 21 before it launches in August 28th? Or do you think more work needs to be done immediately? Like, what are the things you guys think they need to really pay attention to right now in order to make the experience a good one when the game finally does launch in late August? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Long video, I know, but it's been a good time. Remember to hit that like and sub if you did enjoy this video, found it informative. We'll see you next time. This has been The Director, and as always, stay frosty.